Well, here we are building it one episode at a time, one guest at a time. It is number 4 of the Grail. Thank you for joining me. And if you're new here, thank you for finding the show. Please leave a review and subscribe. It very much helps the show. We are at 99 reviews, and I'd like to get it to 100, my friends, my fellow Grail hunters, always in search for the holy grail of everything: boots, denim, jackets, cars, homes, watches, food, architecture, guitars, everything. Where is the holy grail? Constantly looking for the best. Today, I sit down and talk to a man all about denim. I am obsessed with denim, and a lot of you out there are also. Man, I can't tell you. I think denim is absolutely the best piece of clothing ever made. Denim will never, ever die. It has beat every fashion trend on the planet. Even right now, it's got sweatpants in a stranglehold, letting it know you better tap out, because when COVID is over, denim will rule again. My guest today is Bahzad Trinos, and he is the creative and sales director of Naked and Famous Denim. And it was great to talk to this man. He lives out in Japan with his wife. They both work at Naked and Famous. And this man has some great denim knowledge. And it's always good to talk to people that have a lot of denim knowledge, because there's so many myths about denim. Don't wash it. Do you wash it? Do you put it in the freezer? Where was it made? Was it found in a basement at Levi, where the looms moved to the moon and then hand stitched, where the logo's tattooed on a guy's forehead? It's all that kind of crazy shit, but that's what makes denim so cool. It has a story. It has soul. It is part of you when you put it on. I've been wearing this one pair of strike golds right now since January 1st, 2020, on and off because of the damn COVID, but I want to see what it looks like to wear a pair every day for a year, and I've only got about 7 months on it, because there was a good amount of time I didn't wear any denim. But when I do put on that denim, I know, okay, I feel good. I feel good. This is me. This is who I am. Denims, boots, leathers, sneakers, whatever your preferred look is. I don't know. I'm rambling on, because that's what denim heads do. They ramble on about stitching and selvage and all that folklore. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get into it right now. Before I do, let's give a shout out to my sponsor, Banker Guitars. You're looking for fine handcrafted guitar? Go right to bankerguitar.com. Hit up my man. He is going to build you a custom-made guitar. Matt knows what the hell he is doing. Get yourself a Banker Guitar. Bankerguitar.com. Go there right now. All right, it's time for some denim talk. I can't thank you guys enough for taking this journey with me. And it doesn't matter if the show's huge or small or where it goes in the future. It's just about turning you guys on to cool people. And thank you for taking the ride. Here we go. Bahzad Trinos, Naked and Famous Denim.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bahzad Trinos, and I'm from Naked and Famous Denim. We're a small Canadian denim brand, and I think we make some pretty cool jeans.
And you are in Japan right now, right?
Yeah, so I'm based here in Japan. I'm Canadian, and I moved here about a year ago, and the plan was to go kind of live here part-time and go back to Montreal part-time. I still have an apartment in Montreal, but then this whole little, I think you guys might have heard of it, COVID.
Yeah, I heard it's going around.
Yeah, it stopped global travel for some reason.
And so you were there and then ended up being trapped there.
Pretty much. So I went back to Canada in January. So I spent January and February in Canada. Well, actually, we traveled the world. So we were in Canada. We went to Paris. We went to New York. We went to Vegas. So we're kind of on the trade show circuit. And at the end of February, like right at the end, we went back to Japan. And then the whole world shut down. And technically, I could go back to Canada, but I wouldn't have been able to go back to Japan, where my wife is here. So it was like, okay, well, where are we going to spend this, shutdown? So we pretty much decided to stay here.
Now, did you have an apartment already pre-COVID, or did you have to just go out and find one?
Well, our Montreal place we've had for many years.
Of course. But I mean, in Japan.
In Japan, when we came back to Japan at the end of February, we were actually house hunting. So we had a place in mind that we were looking to buy, and we literally bought it just like days before shutdown happened. So we moved in, and we just had to manage with. The thing is, like here in Japan, not a lot of things shut down really, so it didn't affect us terribly. We worked from home, so we didn't have to go to the office. A lot of offices and things like that shut down, but business in general were open.
Really?
Yeah. Like you could go to IKEA in the middle of the pandemic, and it would be like a normal day at IKEA.
With no mask? In Japan, they always wore masks.
Yeah. Here in Japan, that was the thing. Everyone, even before COVID, you could walk out on the street and like 20, 25%, maybe 30% of the people were already wearing masks. So whether they were sick or it was like pollen season or somebody didn't want to wear makeup that day, people were wearing masks. You can go to, everybody had a box of masks at home. So it wasn't weird when they said, okay, we recommend that everybody wear masks. Everyone was like, yeah, that's a good idea.
Well, I've been in Japan a few times, and I was there in 2006, and everybody wore masks on the bullet train and walking or going to work during the day all the time. And I was always like, wow, this is wild.
Yeah. I mean, I even picked up the habit of wearing masks on planes because, flying from Japan to Canada, it's a pretty long flight. And, you're all that recycled air just dries you out. So I would wear masks so that my nasal passages and my sinuses would stay kind of moist. So I really got into the habit of doing that for quite a while. And so when, things happened here, one thing that Japan really didn't have was like liquid hand sanitizer. It wasn't just a general product. And like right at the start of things, for anybody who had hand sanitizer, like it was expensive. But in a couple of weeks, every pharmacy had it, and you could buy that, and every entrance to every store and restaurant had a little hand sanitizing station. So I think those things really helped keep Japan calm during this whole thing.
This is wild, to think about how in close proximity people are in Japan. It's a lot like New York City. I don't know which part are you in Tokyo or where are you?
I'm just outside Tokyo in Yokohama. Like for me on the train, it's like 20 minutes to central Tokyo.
Right. So you know what I'm talking about. It's a lot like New York, packed all over the place.
I would say the trains are even more packed than New York. Mind you, the subway systems and the train systems are infinitely cleaner.
Absolutely.
But I mean, you've seen those pictures of like the guys pushing people into trains, and that's real. That's every morning. So people are literally crammed together like as tight as humanly possible on these trains, which you don't really get in like a packed train in New York might be packed, but you're not like, sardine canned in there.
Right.
So that was a big difference. But a lot of offices decided to send people home so that they work from home. So especially during like, I guess the height of pandemic here, there wasn't, train ridership was down for sure. I remember going into central Tokyo at Shinjuku Station. It's one of the most...
I know where it is, yep.
You know where it is? It's one of the most trafficked train stations in the world. I think they service over 1 million people a day. And we were there at noon, and it was a ghost town. And it was weird.
Wow.
It felt like a zombie movie. Like everything was clean. You know what I mean? You know, it wasn't post-apocalyptic, but like just where were all the people? So people stayed home. They worked from home without any, like, there were no laws. There's no fine, you know? So people just were like, okay, we'll do that. And then they opened up a couple months ago, and most businesses, I think a lot of offices still have people working from home. Not all. I mean, there are some, but like every restaurant, every department store, everyone's open. And
indoor eating and how about nightclubs and bars?
I don't know about nightclubs. It's been a long time since I've been to a nightclub.
Well, is there a massive amount of COVID there? Was there a lot of deaths, or was it pretty minimal out there?
It was pretty minimal in terms of like reported numbers. Now, the criticism has always been that testing hasn't been particularly available. So because testing was limited, they wanted to make sure that you had, there was a certain checklist that you kind of had to abide by, right? If you had this symptom and this symptom and this symptom, then we'll give you a test. But like an actual COVID test. But even if you didn't show symptoms, they might have given you a different test. There's all kinds of things that they do here to determine maybe what your sickness could have been. Maybe you had a cold or something else. So because of that, a lot of people say that the numbers are skewed in one direction or another. They say that maybe it's a little bit low, but I don't think you can hide the death count. So if people are dying, that's a harder number to hide, and the deaths are relatively low. I don't know the exact numbers offhand. And Japan was one of the first countries outside of China to have COVID. So for a country that's had it for so long, I think that they've done a pretty good job of keeping people safe and keeping people. Yeah, I mean,
well, it's wild to think about that. How many people are in close proximity with each other, and that it didn't catch fire there. And also
the aging population. The population is really elderly. So,
right.
I would go down the street and sometimes I see like old guys just not giving a shit. They're walking around, no mask. And I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, you got the information, you do you, but, they're not, that wasn't everybody, of course. We visited my wife's grandparents here, and the care home that she's in, it was like, and to be fair, this was the same policy before and after COVID. You get into like the lobby area, you take off your shoes. It's, very Japanese. They give you slippers, clean slippers. They say, okay, there's a restroom. They're like, wash your hands, gargle your mouth. Then you're allowed to go up. And so, we'd see grandma and they're like, you have to wear a mask, can't take the mask off. You could be there for 30 minutes, have the window open. And I just thought like, oh, and of course they checked your temperature when you went in as well. So like they were very careful, and everybody who came in had to sign their name. Like, so there was a guest log of everybody. So say something did happen, they'd be able to track it really easily. So I just, maybe if there's something going on, it's not being reported like in the news that like there's a wild, deaths going around everywhere. So I have to say that I think I staying here, bulk of this situation, it's been, it hasn't been as intrusive as it might have been.
That's
had
wild,
I been somewhere else. Yeah.
That is wild. Let's get into a little bit of your history. I think I first discovered Naked and Famous. There was a store downtown San Francisco.
Azalea.
Yeah, and I went in there and they had like 32-ounce jeans in the corner standing up on their own. And I was like, what the hell is this,
Well, those are for now, presently, that's the world's heaviest denim. So 32 ounces per square yard. It's like wearing 3 pairs of jeans at the same time. We like to say, actually, it's guaranteed uncomfortable or your money back. And we have yet to issue a refund.
They were insane just standing there in the corner on their own.
They're so stiff and they're so thick. It's like cardboard.
Were people buying these?
Yes. Interestingly, yes. I mean, we've been selling them for several years now. They're very, very, very difficult to produce. In fact, when we were producing them in Japan, and the factory was just like, we give up. It's just such a pain in the ass for us. We hate this fabric, and we're like. The fun thing about that is anytime somebody tells you that something is so hard to do, it just makes it even more worth doing.
Yeah.
So we've actually developed a 40-ounce denim.
Wow.
So even heavier by a big margin, like wearing 4 pairs of jeans at the same time. We're actually in the final process of making the first sample of these jeans. So the difficulty with making a jean so heavy is that there exists no sewing machine or no hardware.
No needle.
Right. So we actually had to custom order a machine to sew this fabric, and it sews it. It's what's incredible about it is that this machine, like, it sews through it like it was designed for it. So we were able to achieve that. The next problem was the rivets and the buttons, because when you're ordering rivets and buttons, the companies that make this stuff, they're making it for normal denim. You know what I mean? The tacks and the pins, they're only so thick. They're not designed to go through denim that's 4 times as thick.
Yeah, that'd be like you need like a bolt.
Basically. So we're having them handmade just for the button is incredible. It's like it goes on with a screw.
My point is though, I see those jeans and then I start to know about your company. So what year was that about that the 32 ounces come out?
When did those come out? Maybe around 2015, somewhere around there.
So how long before that were you running, and how the hell did you get into this?
So the brand Naked and Famous Denim started in February 2008. And the founder of Naked and Famous, his name's Brandon Spark, and his grandfather actually kind of founded our company in a way. So he came to Canada after World War II. He was actually a Holocaust survivor. And doing what he had to do, he was going door to door selling rags and household goods. And that was his business. So he started off just selling kind of essentials for the home. And that developed into a workwear company where he was making jeans and overalls and coveralls and things like that for French Canadian workers. And Brandon's father got into the business, expanded it even further. And when it was Brandon's turn, kind of, the family line, to enter the business, he wanted to do something a little bit different. He didn't want to go into that mass production, kind of everyday kind of stuff. He wanted to make something very special. So he took his family's knowledge of workwear and production and turned it into what we have today, where we're importing some of the most beautifully designed and woven Japanese denim fabrics. And we do all of our production in Canada. And we kind of distribute it around the world.
Now, was he a denim head? And is that how he got into the Japanese denim? Because, of course, if you're looking to make something different, you have to have some knowledge on Japanese denim in order to use that stuff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he had an extensive knowledge. Brandon is one of these guys where when I first met him, and I was a hardcore denim nerd. I was on the forums. I even went to Japan for like denim shopping trips. And I remember my first interaction with Brandon, he was just dumping knowledge on me like I'd never heard before. And it was interesting because at the time, if you wanted to get any kind of knowledge about, Japanese denim or raw denim, what's going on, you had to rely on these forums. And the forum culture still exists today, but there was a lot of like folklore going around at those times. Like we didn't know what was going on. We kind of thought about this and maybe, the mills in Japan, they imported all these old American machines and there was all this.
That's the one you heard for. They bought the Levi loom, all that stuff.
And so when we get to Japan and we go to the mills and we're like, okay, where are all these looms? And they're like, no, that never happened. I don't know why this story exists, but like we never imported those looms. We made our own looms. And so Toyota actually made all of the looms.
I heard about that. Wild.
So I found it quite fascinating to learn all this stuff. And, coming on to Naked and Famous Denim when I did. I was the first employee, actually.
Wow.
And just absorbing more and more knowledge. And now I'm on a lot of these denim forums, and I try to correct some of that false information that's out there, and try to give as much knowledge. I spread my knowledge as much as I can, because I think it's so hard for people to get good information. So you might as well put up the good information.
Well, it is an interesting world, the denim thing, because it's got its little drama pockets and its myths and its weirdness to it.
Sure.
As a matter of fact, I've had some denim people on, and then my good friend Kia at Self Edge he'd be like, man, that guy, that's not right, and that kind of stuff. And I'd be like, oh man, because I'm going off the same knowledge as most people were when I was first seeking out Japanese denim. I have said this story over and over. My first knowledge, of course, was Big E. Right. Levi stuff, and then you'd buy that stuff at the swap meets like the Pasadena Rose Bowl flea market, and or you would search estate sales and find these 501 biggies and all that. That was the only way you found it. And then one day I came across New York Jean Shop, and I was like, whoa, what's this stuff? And from there, I found Kia Shop Self Edge in Lower East Side, New York, started buying Ironheart stuff. And then you slowly start to find out some of these companies like Strike Gold and Pure Blue Japan, all these companies, some of these companies have been around 50 years. And you're like, what?
Well, some of them like to say they've been around a lot longer than they've been. Like we can get into some of the folklore there too, but it's kind of funny because there's this funny debate even within Japanese denim of who is the first Japanese denim brand. And as far as my information goes, that was a company called Big John. They started as a company called Canton Denim, but other brands claim to be the first this and the first that, and it's kind of funny. So I don't know. Sometimes when I hear some of these, inter-brand kind of competition minglings, it sounds a lot like Mugatu from Zoolander, like who invented the piano key necktie first.
Yeah, it is. I've been to Japan a couple times, and it is unreal how great the clothing quality and the world there is as far as. You want to look like Elvis, there's an Elvis shop. You want to look like James Dean, there's a James Dean shop. You want to be a 60s Robert Plant hippie, there's a hippie turquoise bedazzled vest shop. It's wild.
The amazing thing about Japan is that if you're into a niche, there's somebody who's absolutely super into it as well, and there's a store for you. So it doesn't matter if you're like, I love toys. I love video games. I love nostalgia stuff. And there's a place called Nakano Broadway that I really like to go to, because if you want to buy G1 Transformers, they have them all in box and like pretty much brand new. You're going to spend a ton on them, but there's a store that's just Transformers. There's a store that's just American toys. If you want Ninja Turtles and Ghostbusters, no problem. They're all here.
I know.
So it's so neat that I guess it comes with the population density. There's a lot of people here. And so, if only a certain percentage of a population is a nerd about a certain, topic, there's going to be enough of these people here. So I do find that there should be more of that in America. But I mean, we do have a lot of great denim stores and stores that are dedicated to, the stuff that we like, old North American style construction and fashion. So maybe they just don't get the mainstream, eye on them. Like in Japan, I think there's an aspect of like freak showness. Oh, look at the weird stuff that Japan's doing. So there's that. So maybe they get a lot of eyes because, hey, look at this Japanese rockabilly. Isn't that weird? Yeah. And it's like, okay, maybe it is. I don't think it's particularly weird. I think there's rockabilly's everywhere, but I think that's maybe why a lot of that stuff gets a lot of eyes internationally.
Well, I think a lot of people don't travel. So they're like, wait a minute, there's like Japanese outlaw bikers? And they're like, hey man, there's outlaw bikers in all races. Yeah.
Right.
But I think the key thing to the Japanese market, and I've said that multiple times when I have somebody on that understands all the stuff that I love, boots, denim, eyewear, leather jackets. It's the key thing there is passion.
Right.
And I think a lot of people in America don't have full passion of something that they like. It's just phone culture where they're just looking at Instagram photos or whatever. But I'm talking about passion where it's like, God, look at these handmade boots, man. Who made these? This is crazy. And somebody look at you like you're crazy. Like, who gives a shit, man? I just buy them down at Walmart, you know?
Right. Well, there is a luxury aspect to that as well. I mean, look, we might be in a position where we can, within everything, there is always the ultra best of it. And we're in this hobby that we look at apparel and we are like, it's more than just function for us, right? It's fashion, but we also care about the way it's made and why this particular flannel looks the way it does. And it just happens to be that they used a twisted triple color yarn to make that flannel look like that, or they wove it so slowly that it's got this loose texture that feels like a vintage flannel that I would have found at a thrift shop, but it's brand new. They somehow were able to create that old school feel on a new garment. And because we're serving a niche, we're not making tens of thousands of pieces of anything. So everything that you have is going to be unique and special, and odds are you're not going to run into anybody who has that same shirt. So we love this stuff because there's a secret science to it. To some people, it's just a pair of boots. I wear them to kick around in. And for us, we're like, these boots are going to be if I wanted to, these could be the last pair of boots I ever own. But we're also nerds in a way. We're like, which is the weird thing, because we buy things that last forever, but we also buy so many things that we're never going to wear them out.
God, that is the double-edged sword right there, that you've nailed it so much. Because here, as much as I love patina and fades and wears, it's a thing where you're like, well, these are the ultimate boots. But this one here is also the ultimate, and it's the ultimate of this jungle boot style, and this is the ultimate of the motorcycle boot, and this is the ultimate of the chukka boot. And next thing you know, you've got 5 pairs of boots, 20 pairs of denim, and 15 flannels, and you're trying to get them to look like those vintage ones. But it is part of the fun, and I think that it's a great addiction and hobby to have.
Right. Look, we're supporting makers. We're supporting the little guy. And I think that's very important. Even with this COVID situation, I think one of the things that really, one of the good stories that came out of this was people's awareness of locally made and the dependence that we might have had on things made elsewhere. So when you can turn around and say, hey, I can have great Canadian made jeans. I can have great American made jeans, American made boots. I don't have to go somewhere else to get these. Right. So it's in the mainstream conscious again. It's one of those things for people to say, I support local. And it's a nice thing to say. And I think a lot of people just say it because it's the thing to say. But now I think people are like, maybe I need to support the local. Maybe it's really important that we have these industries. So I'm thankful that is in the mainstream, air again.
Right. You're the first employee at Naked and Famous. And when you guys first start coming together, I think the goal was to have a jean that wasn't $300, a lot like the great brand Unbranded.
Right.
So what was the actual idea? No celebrities, no billboards, no ads in GQ, all that. Just
Absolutely.
a quality, great jean. So let's get into that thought there.
So starting out with, I'll start off with a funny story with Naked and Famous. So one of the things that caught a lot of people's attention when Naked and Famous first launched, and it caught my attention, and this is when I was just a fan, was Japanese selvage denim made in North America, made in Canada, and the opening retail price was around $108.
American?
American. And a Canadian was about par at the time, so it was about the same price. So it was like, what? When you looked at what was out on the market at the time, everything was $300. You wanted to salvage denim, it was $300. That was it. You spent $300 on a pair of jeans, and you had a pretty good pair of jeans, some of the best. But somehow somebody just came out with a product at a third of the price. And I'll tell you, the first season, all the pricing was wonky for one very, very special reason. And that's because when Brandon started the brand, he had no contacts in Japan. He didn't know anybody. So he was just calling any mill that would pick up the phone. So one of the mills he called, he just literally kept calling them, and nobody spoke English. So he'd say, "Hi, this is Brandon. I'd like to order some denim. Does anyone speak English?" And they'd be confused and they'd hang up. And he'd call him right back. And this is from his bedroom in Montreal, and he was still living at home with his dad. So he's just trying as hard as he can to get through to somebody. And then finally, somebody answers the phone, and they're barely speaking English. And it happens to be the son of the president of the mill.
Wow.
So a family
Which mill
business.
was this, by the way?
Well, I don't. The one thing with Naked and Famous is I never reveal our sources.
Oh, is that right?
We never do. And the reason, there's a couple of reasons. One is just industry secrets.
Right.
And I just don't want people to know where we're like, there's enough competition out there, and I hear it from our suppliers. They're like, "Oh, so-and-so was in here asking. So-and-so was in here asking," because they want to know what we're doing. And I don't want anyone to know what we're doing, because we've got stuff lined up for seasons. And there's so many sales reps in these companies. And, I know some secrets get out here and there, but, I don't want to be the guy to reveal the secrets. So we keep our cards pretty close to our chest. And we work with a lot of different mills in Japan. So some of them people don't even know about. And that's just, some of it is fun that way, because I hear people talking about this mill and that mill. I'm like, you never even heard about the mill we're working with. So
there's actually mills out there that small that nobody knows about them.
Well, in maybe some industry people know about them, but like on the forums and like the mainstream discussion, there's mills that nobody even has ever mentioned.
Wow,
yeah.
Because we all know the cone mill, in the States, which is gone.
They're another company bought them.
Right.
I don't remember their name exactly, but they're still operating, which is good. So there's still some American-made denim.
Are they operating in Kentucky or something like that, or Sacramento?
I'm not certain.
Right.
I'm not certain. But Cone as a company still operates globally. I mean, they make fabric around the world. So
right.
They weren't just an American mill. They had mills in America and they started there, but they're a global company. But just going back, so the son of the president of the mill picks up the phone, and he's tasked with sending Brandon information, giving him pricing, and lo and behold, he sends him all the wrong pricing. And it's all way too low. But so Brandon makes his entire price list, he makes the entire line, he sells it based on this pricing, and they're like, "Oh, we gave you the wrong pricing." And he's like, "Okay, well, that's a problem." And they're like, "No, it's not that much of a problem. I'm the son of the president. And if I gave you that price, then I gave you that price."
Whoa.
So he honored the price that he gave us. And later on, they adjusted it. So, our prices have gone up a little bit from those days. But we still have jeans starting at $135 US. But that allowed us to really, really make an impact when we were first out there. So for a season, you were seeing jeans that should have been 3 times the price, if somebody else made it, at a third of the price. So we got a lot of people into raw denim that way. And we were at a lot of, great stores like Barney's New York. We're still at American Rag. They've been a supporter of us for pretty much the beginning. And, that's I would say the mecca of denim in America. Like what an incredible store. You have so much variety there. So I think, starting off, we were always about value. And that also came down from Brandon's grandfather. And, he was selling, back in his day, he was selling jeans for $5. You know what I mean? So he's like, "You're selling jeans for $100. That's crazy." But he's like, if you stick to value, you can do no wrong. So because we're based in Canada, and when we were importing fabric from Japan, there was no Canadian industry to disrupt. Nobody was making denim fabric in Canada anymore. So we were importing the fabric duty free. So
Wow.
there's no extra, 15, 18% of value being put into the cost of the item that doesn't make the product any better. It's just, it's a cost, but it doesn't make the product better. We were at the very beginning, we were using we didn't have our own factories. There was still denim sewing production in Canada at the time. So there were several, and because they were big companies, we were able to get kind of good pricing. They were making for some American chains, so like big chains.
So you go in with the denim and go, we want these made into jeans. And what was the first shape? Just 501?
No, well, we had several fits actually. We had because of our extensive history, we had pattern makers available to us. So we developed our own fits. So we had a jean called the skinny guy, we had a jean called the weird guy, and we had a jean called the slim guy. So weird guy is really the only jean that is still around, but it's had a couple of modifications since then. And that's like a mid-rise kind of regular tapered leg jean. So not too wide in the thigh, not too skinny in the thigh, and it has a gradual taper, so not too tight around the ankle. That's our everybody fit, and to this day, it's been our most popular fit. Skinny guy back in the day was like a pencil leg jean, and slim
Strokes.
guy,
the Strokes
right,
guy,
right, and slim guy at the time it was a slim fit, but times have changed, and that was kind of the problem with that jeans. That was called slim guy, and then times changed, and all the guys were wearing skinnier and skinnier and skinnier jeans, and then our slim guy all of a sudden wasn't a slim jean anymore. And it was just like a regular straight leg, which nobody seemed to want. So that got phased out and has been replaced with other fits since then. But we've had a lot of fits.
I do love that about you guys, where you have these names of these fits. So I know, okay, I wear super guy.
Right.
And so super guy in any denim, I know what the fit's going to be. I don't have to worry about, it's 11 in the thigh and 7 1/4 in the knee and then 6 3/4 at the leg hole.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand that shit, but if you can put one on kind of like, I wear a size 9 in Adidas. I wear a super guy in the Naked and Famous. I really do like that.
Well, more or less, if you wear a particular size in super guy, you're going to be that size in that range. But I have to say that it's not always the case. Sometimes with fabrications, if you're wearing an 11-ounce denim and you're wearing one size and you go all the way up to like a 22-ounce denim, that's double the thickness. So you might need to adjust based off of the weight and the composition. If there's stretch in one fabric and it's 100% cotton, very rigid denim another way, you might need to accommodate just so you're comfortable in that jean.
But I'm talking about the cut. That's what I'm saying. I know I'm a super guy cut. That's the cut I like.
Right.
Which is great.
Right. And we make, about a dozen new fabrics a season in a variety of options. So anything from like a classic kind of indigo, denim, something you'd reminisce about, to wild things that you've never seen before. So we're always having fun, changing up compositions and constructions and weights and dyes to make something new and fun and interesting. And some people, it's not for them. We have jeans that change, with the fading. You talk about denim patinaing, and typically a pair of jeans fades from dark indigo to white. But we have jeans that fade from dark indigo to blue or purple or green. Like we've developed a dye technique we call it the core denim. So it has a colored core yarn. So it's a fun way to fade your jeans that isn't like anything else out there. And we even had a rainbow core jean once, so it would fade to multicolor. It was a lot of fun.
Whoa! You had scratch and sniff. You've had glow in the dark. You've had
reflective, thermochromic. We've had every kind of fiber you can imagine. We've made paper blend jeans. We made steel blend jeans. You name it, we've done it, and we're continuing to do it. Right now, we finished development on milk fiber blend jeans. So fiber made from actual cow's milk.
Wow! And what does that look like?
Well, it looks like a normal pair of jeans, but it feels silky smooth on the inside. So that milk fiber protein is kind of like a silky material when you use it. So when you weave with that, it's just, you put it on, it feels cool, which is nice because this is going to be a jean that comes out next summer. So it's cool to the touch. So on a warm day, it's nice to wear. And it's just kind of, you still have that feeling of a constructed garment, like a rigid denim, but it's just like got this nice silky feel and touch to it that makes it extra comfortable.
And who's coming up with these kind of things? Is it the mills that are like, hey, check this out. We were high one day and we thought this would be wild.
Well, it's a combination of that. So, the mills have their own developments, and then we have our ideas. And sometimes we'll take part of a development idea that they have and a development idea that we have, and we'll mold them together. Or we'll come to them straight up with ideas and saying like, okay, we want to do this and we want to do that and we want to do the other thing. I've been trying to get for years a spider silk denim. That hasn't come to fruition yet, but one day I think we'll do it. There is a material, and I like looking at like scientific, information, because they're always talking about new fibers and things that they've developed. So sometimes I'll hear about that. And there was a fabric called cyber. I think it's spelled with the S. And it's spider silk that is synthesized in a goat's milk. So they like genetically modify a goat to have like these fibrous kind of milk secretions, and then they withdraw the fibers from it. It's crazy science, but they can make a fabric with it. And I think it was North Face that actually made a jacket from this material, and I'm sure it was $1 bajillion. This was
nuts.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I love that science stuff, and so whenever there's something new going on there, I'm always quick to talk to the mills and be like, can we get our hands on some of this stuff?
So when he starts with the first mill and gets his shop up and his company up and running, what makes him start to go to other mills? Does he start to seek out other materials and stuff like that? And when does he start to go to Japan? Like to fly over there and start going to these mills?
Yeah. So Brandon went to Japan pretty early on. So even before the brand launched, he made those phone calls and made those connections, but we've been going to Japan. Well, I live here now. Before that, we've been going to Japan since 2008, since the beginning. And we would come usually 2 to 3 times a year, developing each season's collection, going in to check in on the production. We'd like to see how things are made and learn a little bit more, keep these personal relationships going. So going to Japan has always been something we've done. And it's also just a great inspiration to see what's going on the street. What are people wearing? How people are wearing them. And I mean, that's just part of traveling. When we would go to Europe, we go to Paris and Brazil and London, not Brazil, Berlin. I've not been to Brazil yet, but Paris, Berlin, we would do that circuit a lot. We go to London sometimes. So that's just, I guess, part of the game.
But when he goes over there, of course he's using one mill, and the mill's not going to tell him like, hey man, you got any, any other mills that I can maybe get some other stuff? Like, how does that, is he pounding on the doors? Is he asking other people?
Yes. So there are actually denim trade shows. So that's part of it as well. So there was a show in Paris that we used to go to, and you would meet all of the world's denim mills came here, and all of the world's denim brands went there to meet with all the fabric suppliers, see what the newest innovations are, see what's happening in the industry. So just like with any other industry, there are denim trade shows, and they take place in Europe, they take place in Asia, they take place in the United States. So you meet a lot of people that way, and then as soon as you're a little bit established, then people start calling you and saying, hey, I'd like to show you this, I'd like to show you that. And because we would travel to Japan so often, you make these connections, you go and meet these people. And sometimes it was like, middle of, like in Japan, the Japanese denim industry happens in Okayama. And so all the mills pretty much are in the same place. So, going from one mill to the other wasn't particularly difficult. Just get into a cab, or you'd have someone drive you around, and you'd find your way. And, you're in the middle of nowhere, Japan. I mean, it's like rice fields and, mountainous valleys.
And then there's just a mill there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow. And are some of these mills just like 10 people in there, like super small? Like, wow.
I've been to ones that are super small, like, the owner lives next door. And then other ones are like, this is a factory. This is because remember, these mills, like as much as we know them in our niche, raw denim, world, they also make for all of the major retailers you can imagine. So, from the Gap and J. Crew and all these big time guys, all of these mills are vying for that business because that's where the, Levi's, that's where the chunk, that's where the money is.
Of course.
We're small. When Levi's makes a purchase order, what they do in a month is it eclipses what we do in a year. You know what I mean? So,
well, there was a time where even the Gap got in. I would say me and my buddy Spicer, Christian Spicer, who sometimes would co-host on the podcast with me, they came out with those 1969s, I believe it was, and it was Japanese denim for $85.
Right.
And man, I tell you what, they were fantastic.
Right. So, of course, there's different levels of what these mills can do. And if the Gap or, a retailer of that size needs a certain price point, they're going to make a fabric that is going to suit that price point. There's no question about it. But so that's kind of my problem when people talk about, oh, what mill did you get it from? I'm like, it doesn't actually matter because you don't know the difference between what the absolute mainstream stuff is that they make and the absolute top shelf stuff that they make. It's like saying, Toyota is a great car company.
Yeah.
But not every Toyota is made the same.
They got the SR5 and then they've got the TRD.
Right.
And the SR5 is the entry level that's assembled in Mexico and the TRD's full Japanese assembly. And I get it.
So that's the thing. So when people say, what mill does it come from? I'm like, you just hearing the name shouldn't indicate what level. It's a good quality, don't get me wrong, but it shouldn't indicate exactly where this is on the spectrum of quality. So honest, like just when we started Naked, the sewing production in Canada, one of the mills that we one of the factories that was doing our sewing was doing sewing production for the Gap. So a lot of that stuff was made in Canada at the time. And anyways, when and they were doing for production for other companies as well. But when those big guys left, that's when the industry died in Canada. And that's when we actually kind of picked up the pieces because we were like, look, the industry is slowly dying here. All it takes is one big retailer to pull their production out of this factory and it's over.
Right.
So we bought the machines, we set up shop, and we were like, okay, we need to take control of our own destiny. So we went from having none of our own actual owned factories to now having 2 fully owned and operated factories.
Wow. And how many employees?
About 50.
Whoa.
So like, it's not the biggest factory in the world, but
still big.
It's still pretty big. And one of the challenges for us is getting new employees, actually. It's a big, like I was talking about earlier, we like to talk about made in Canada, made in USA, but then the argument comes in, well, who wants to work these jobs? And like our people are the best. They are fantastic. They're professionals. They're great. And we love them. And, we would get sometimes in young people and they're like, okay, well, I want to be a craftsman. And, that's what we have. We have craftsmen and they work hard. And there's an idea of being a craftsman. And then there's actually doing the work.
Oh, I get it, man. You get these kids and they get an obsession from like, I'm a hipster and I got Instagram and I know everything about denim. I'm getting in the denim world. And then a little work comes around and they're like, fuck this, you know?
It's happened. And, you get someone who comes in and they're like, yeah, I know how to sew. And then you put them in front of an industrial machine and they're like, whoa. This isn't my, $150 Singer that I bought at Walmart. I'm like, no, it's not. But you can learn it, if you just take the time. And I'm not asking for perfection on day one. We will happily, if you're willing to, stay the course, we will train you and we're going to pay you as well. I mean, this is not like some internship where you're just going to sit around and work for free. You're going to get a full salary. You're going to get all the benefits that come with it, and you're going to learn a craft. You just got to stick it out. But, it's not, maybe for some people, it's not glamorous work or it's not as glamorous as they thought it would be. You're still working at a sewing table for, a lot of the day and, you're it's a lot of repetitive work, but that's how stuff gets made. I mean, it's not.
You're right. You're right, and it can drive people crazy. How many pairs of jeans do you guys make about a year?
Oh, that's I don't have the actual numbers.
What do you think around?
I don't know. It depends. We can make up to 3,000 pairs a week. So we're for the most part at capacity. We used to do some production for other people, but like we're not even taking those projects on anymore just because we can't keep up with our own production. So we make a lot of jeans. And luckily we've gone from a brand that started with, a handful of jeans that would fit in one suitcase to like now we need multiple suitcases to like get our sample sets around. And we've got a lot of fantastic retail partners around the world. And it's for me being there from the beginning and seeing we barely had an inventory management system. We're still upgrading it, but we had to figure out a lot of things on our own, and it wasn't like we weren't industry guys where we had all these connections and, this buyer and that buyer. It was just, we were going to the trade show and we were like, here's our product and it's good. I hope you like it. And it worked out that way. So we've really just spent a lot of our time making good things and trying to be accessible to our customers and being as transparent as we can be, I guess, without giving away our supplier names.
Yeah, I love that. I love that about it. It is funny to think about how competitive the denim world is. I know that I was on one brand for a few years, and then another brand comes into I learn about another brand, and it slowly has things that I didn't like about one brand, and then here comes a couple years later another brand. I'm like, wow, I'm getting closer to the holy grail for me, for my thing of fit, length of pocket, the buttons, the denim, all that stuff, and it's very, very competitive, right?
There's a lot of us out there, and we're vying for the same niche of market. And I like to think that what we make is a little bit more, we make a lot of commercial stuff because I want more people to get into this world. If raw denim, for some people, your first experience with raw denim is, this is a heavy, rigid, uncomfortable garment. Why the hell would I put this on and wear it?
Yeah, that's what my buddy said. He was like, dude, how do you wear this stuff? I go, well, you got to wear it for a while. And then he goes, I can't wear it past 4 hours. Right.
There's some people who love the challenge. And there's some people who are like, nope, not for me. But we shouldn't ignore those people. They might like the idea of, having this garment that's going to patina and fade and become their own garment. So how do we make a garment that suits them? So, we've played around with, non-traditional fabric compositions. Like we've been pushing like stretch selvage denim options for years. And I remember
you talked about that in the Instagram. You were saying, I don't understand the nose turn up by the purist, so to say, of any kind of stretch in there. And I thought, well, I understand why I didn't like the stretch, because when there was stretch in the jeans, it tended to be, they would fall apart quick because of the stretch part of the jean. I wore stretch jeans all through my thrash metal Metallica days,
Right. But the difference between that stretch denim and what we're doing is, when you take a washed garment, a pre-washed garment might be ripped or faded, or acid washed, bleached, whatever it is, and there's stretch in that, all that chemical eats away at that stretch fiber. And just like any elastic, eventually that elastic breaks, and then you don't get that snapback that you really want.
Of course.
Because we're not pre-washing and we're not distressing our jeans, we're not putting that excess stretch on that elastic fiber. So that
don't your jeans come washed?
No, very few. We do a rinse wash on them, which is just like basically a laundry. You put it in the washing machine, you take it out.
Well,
But,
I mean, that way they come pre-shrunk, right?
well, there's yes and no. So
Right.
the vast majority of our fabrics go through a process called sanforization. So this is a shrinkage process that happens on the fabric itself before cutting and sewing.
Got you. So there's not going to be any shrink. If you buy a 32, it's going to fit. It's not going to be, an inch in the waist and all that.
Right. You won't get an extreme shrinkage. With every laundry, there's going to be a little bit of shrinkage, but your garment always stretches back out once you wear it for a few minutes.
Right.
So that the natural laundry shrink is normal, but you're not going to get 2 sizes shrunk.
I understand unsanforized and all that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So you said unsanforized. So when you have an unsanforized garment, that's like the original way denim was made, because the sanforization process didn't exist. When you made denim fabric, it shrunk a hell of a lot. So in the olden days, you'd buy your jeans and it would say, this garment is going to shrink, and you have to account for all that. So buy 2 sizes up, soak them in your bathtub, and let them hang and they'll shrink, and that's how it's going to work.
Like the original 501s. How wacky was that? You'd be there and it'd be like, it's 2 inches in the waist and 1 inch in the length, and you're just like, I hope I get this right.
Right, and that especially, I hope I get that right on a garment that's $200 or $300 now. A luxury garment. So we do make fabrics that old school way, because there is a particular essence to that fabric that you can't reproduce on a sanforized garment, right?
Gotcha.
It's got more texture. It's got a fuzziness, a hairiness to that garment, because in the sanforization process, it goes through a press, it goes through fire to singe the fabric. So you lose some character of that fabric. So when you one wash a fabric like that, you have to control the shrinkage. So you have to cut the garment to keep the shrinkage rate in mind. So there's a whole science to pre-washing a unsanforized garment. But one washing a sanforized garment, that's just gonna on a stretch denim, that's gonna activate the stretch, and it's gonna remove the starch, and it's gonna feel a little bit more stretchy to begin with. But we do sell raw stretch denim, so there's a little bit of stretch, usually 1 or 2%, and you put it on, and you basically don't have that crunchiness anymore. It still has its texture, but when you move, it moves just that little bit with you, so you're not uncomfortable right away. And for us, that was a gateway to get more people into the raw denim world who otherwise might have just tried on that first pair of crunchy jeans and walked away. So creating a variety of options and different compositions and weights helps us expand this raw denim world out. So I do think we're quite unique in that sense. We're not the typical, we're a heritage-based reproduction brand. I think a lot of people kind of turn their nose up at us because we're not authentically reproducing a garment that was made 50 years ago. And I'm like, well, we're not, because that's not our aim. We're using the same machines. Our sewing machines are all vintage, denim, proper denim sewing construction machines. The machines weaving our fabrics, these are all old school vintage machines, but we're doing it in a modern way. We're innovating within this, world of, makers and people who care about fabric and the details and the stuff that goes into them. So
I also think that a lot of people they take the denim and the boots and the jackets way too serious. So, and look, I love this stuff beyond. It is my life. I love it. I talk about it all the time. But I think there is a thing where people take it so serious that they're like, Naked and Famous. Look at this one, the glow in the dark. That's not traditional. And it's like, well, hey man, there's 800 companies out there doing what you want. So go get it. I don't understand people's armchair warrior, the keypad of fucking and they don't even own a pair of salvage denim.
Right. Well, the other problem with that argument is, what is traditional? Yeah. Where does tradition end? Because in 50 years, maybe Naked and Famous Denim is gone, and we're just another. We're in the history book of denim making. Hopefully, we'll still be around, but you never know. people might look back to the stuff that we made and they're like, wow, that's traditional denim. Right. And so when people look at this, and I especially find it weird because there seems to be a look in the heritage denim world that goes up until about 1949. And after that, it's just, don't forget the 60s, forget flares and boot cuts and like, denim vests and fringe, because that didn't happen. And I'm like, I love that look. I love the 60s and 70s. So I'm often inspired by like vintage garments of that era.
Yeah.
And I find it so weird that, it's, and I like, don't get me wrong, I like the overalls and the wide jeans and the boots and the denim cap and the chore coat. I love that stuff. It's great, right? I'm not knocking it. I just find it odd that I will often, maybe I'll be at a trade show or I'm, at a denim event, and there will be a guy who just wants to talk denim with me. And, we're having a nice conversation. Now, mind you, like I'm criticizing, but, this is all in just, we're just, I don't know what I'm trying to say. But I always found it weird that they're telling me that why they don't like our brand is because of, we're making all this stuff that doesn't fit into their vision of what denim should be. And I will always go back to them and say, well, your vision of denim is very narrow. It doesn't, Levi's, if you want to just say, okay, well, if everyone's aim is to copy what Levi's did back in the day, I'm like, well, Levi's still exists. I mean,
just go buy a Levi.
Right, go buy for a Levi's. So,
I mean, it's like LVC was, hot, but I remember just in 96, 97, maybe 98, LVC was making the 517, and that was hot as hell. You couldn't get the orange tab LVC anywhere. The boot cut, man, this thing was hot.
I worked at a store in Canada called Holt Renfrew, luxury department store. And I remember we got LVC in and we had a pair of orange tab Levi's and they were $501.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, I want these so badly. And I was like, and this was at the time when I'd have to say that Levi's cachet wasn't as it had its cachet, and then there was a period in like the 90s and early 2000s where it was like, maybe even in the 80s, where it wasn't cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I remember going to high school and I'd wear Levi's and people would make fun of me and because I wasn't wearing the designer jeans. You know what I mean? It was
right. Oh yeah.
There was a designer jean phase that was like you had to wear those jeans or you were just low class or whatever. And
you're right. Like Levi's was the blue collar, or even poor people, which is hilarious.
Right.
But when that LVC, that true smasher from, and I got the year wrong there. It was really in around 2004, I think, with the cards and the packaging and the booklet.
Beautiful.
Oh, before they go to Amsterdam, I'm talking right before then when they have that stuff. The denim was phenomenal. And I remember the myth of that was, well, they found the old denim in Levi's in San Fran when they were moving the company. And then they made this batch of LVC. And that stuff was mind-boggling. They had the buckle back, they had the 501, and they had the 517.
Right. So, just speaking of, because LVC was the only, to my knowledge, it was the only branch of Levi's that was designed outside of America. And so I remember being at a trade show in Berlin and the LVC team came over to our booth and they're like, and that's kind of the weird thing is like, sometimes you feel like there's this like animosity between brands and there is, don't get me wrong. But for the most part, like, when we're at trade shows, I'm sitting next to Nudie, I'm sitting next to Levi's, and we all love denim. Right. So like there's a camaraderie, between us and like, the rail car, like I'll go and say hi to Steve and Steve will come by and hang out in our booth and we're just having a good time. And so I do enjoy a lot of the camaraderie. And I just remember because it was still early at Naked and Famous Days and the LVC team comes over to our booth and they're just looking at our fabrics and they're like, oh man, I wish we were allowed to do this. And it was like, because they have to work within a certain. Just like you're thinking about like these heritage guys and their vision of denim is this, and the LVC team obviously, if you're making reproduction garments, you have to your vision is this. It's our past. It's what we've made in the past. So, I always, that was a kind of a good moment for me early in the Naked and Famous days.
That's funny too, because if you really think about that, even Levi can't stand these guys that have what I call the rule makers. These guys that are like, the boot has to have this buckle. If it doesn't, it's wrong. The selvage has to be red, and if it's not, it's wrong. And
right.
And I bet even the people that invented it would be rolling in their grave of like, hey, man, I didn't even know what the hell I was doing. They hired me and said, let's make some stuff for these miners.
Yeah.
And we made these jeans for miners,
Right. It wasn't like, it was thought out in the same way that like any workwear is thought out. Like, oh, you need an extra pocket. Okay, we'll throw it on there. Oh, you need a loop for your hammer. Okay, we're just gonna put it on. Like, there's so much in this world, especially in like utility world, where it's just like put it where it needs to be, and that's it. Like, we're not overly thinking this. You know what I mean?
It wasn't made for fashion, man.
Right.
It wasn't made for fashion, and now here I am, 150 years later, wearing them on stage at the Comedy Store.
Sure.
Something that was built for, miners and mechanics and
the working class
workers.
Folks. Right.
Yeah. So
that's the beauty of denim. I mean, it's the only fabric, maybe leather also, but it's the only material that transcends all classes. Everybody can wear denim. It doesn't matter. It's not like you can't wear, who wears velvet? You know what I mean? You have to be a king or something, but like, so denim, like every class of people, every walk of life. And it's the only garment that you could take 100-year-old pair of jeans, put it on today, and you don't look like you're wearing 100-year-old pair of jeans.
Yeah, there's except for the cut. It might be a little
wide, right?
It'll be up to your tits too.
but you could wear it your way, and people will be like, "Where'd you get those?"
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's such a versatile garment. It fits everyone. It's not just people talk about the differences between like styles of people. You've got the heritage guys. You've got just, the college guy wears a pair of jeans, wears them with like Chuck Taylors and a flannel shirt, and he's off to school or whatever, or that's just hiking, get up with a pair of boots. You've got the streetwear guys who are wearing it with their sneakers and, hoodies and things like that. So it's this blank canvas that works for everyone. And it's such I think that's why I love it so much. And we have such a great diversity of groups of people. I've got guys riding skateboards and posting like tricks on Instagram every day, and I'm sharing those. And you've got guys who are like doing like high fashion kind of looks, and
I think it's the greatest piece of clothing ever made.
No question. I mean,
100%.
I 100% agree with that statement.
There is nothing better than a smoking pair of jeans. And I don't care what anybody says.
Right.
Get a good pair. I got a pair right now, pre-COVID, a pair of strike golds that I was going to try to wear every day for 1 year and just slowly take photos. I got 3 months in and COVID hit, and here comes the sweatpants.
Right.
First time I've wore sweatpants in, I'd say 30 years, as far as out in public, like to the store and stuff.
We just launched a jean called the Hyperflex stretch selvage, which is the stretchiest stretch selvage.
I saw the video where the guy's walking down the street and he's doing the, my balls
the super
aren't
lunges.
Smashed. Yeah.
That's great. If you're working from home and you like raw denim, then you're going to be comfortable in those. I'll tell you that much. But that's certainly a challenge. I mean, we are more and more of us are working from home. I'm working from home. I still wear jeans a lot, of course. That's my life. My wife is also, she works with us, and she's our woman's designer. And so we're a denim household, luckily. So I'm lucky in that sense.
It is funny because we're talking about an addiction that I have, but a great addiction of denim and jackets and boots. And in this COVID, completely didn't even look at it anymore, which was wild because I wasn't leaving the house. And let's be honest, and we all buy clothes. Of course, it's got to fit good and stuff, but we buy it to feel good about ourselves out in public. I feel good. This is who I am. I'm a denim, boots, flannel guy.
Right.
And when you're not out there in that world, all of a sudden you're like, well, I really, it doesn't matter anymore. It was really weird how quick it went away. And I did read a big thing about how the fashion industry is completely tanking right now.
Maybe. I will say that, I saw an article about the denim industry. It might have been, I don't know, Washington Post, New York Times. It might have been the same author, different publications. But They were talking about the death of the denim industry.
Oh, I saw that. They were talking about sweatpants. Right.
So I actually wrote to the author and I said, I think you got a lot of things wrong, because a lot of the analytics that they were using was, of these big retailers, these giant chain retailers that have 500 stores, 1,000 stores across America, maybe more, and they're doing bad. I'm like, yeah, of course they're doing bad. They're not open. Like you can't sell jeans when you're not open. I'm sure their online store is doing great, but their physical retail and sales are going to be down because they're not open. But at the same time, I think we live in I'm speaking for myself, but I'm pretty confident that others around me, because I've talked to them, and anecdotally, it's just like we're all selling kind of high end stuff, right? We're selling to a niche market, and all of us are doing good. Like our New York store is not doing great. I mean, we've been closed for months, and the traffic in New York just isn't there yet. But online, it's not been as bad as you think it has been. I mean, it couldn't be. Everyone. For those of us who still have the ability to work, you still have money to spend. You still have that disposable income. And a lot of us were at home. We were bored. We're looking at all the stuff that we like. And a lot of people were still shopping. So it didn't slow us down to the degree that it could have. I mean, in some respect, because stores were closed, we weren't shipping out wholesale orders like we were. That was a problem,
right? Because
if your brick and mortar is down, and like a lot of stores, maybe their business is half brick and mortar, half online, and half your business is gone, then maybe you'll see a little bit of a bump in online, but it's not going to take over all the the walk-in random traffic that you have, or the tourists that never came to your store that would have been. So I don't think the death of denim it's never going to die. Denim is like Coca-Cola. It's been around since the founding of, it's been around forever. It's not going away. We're going to find different ways to wear jeans.
I didn't think it was, I read the article, and I didn't think it was the death of denim at all. I thought more that it was, because I know everybody, I was selling stuff on eBay like crazy. Everybody got their $1,200.
Right.
They got unemployment, whatever, and people are bored out of their mind. They're depressed. They need that shopping retail therapy. Mm-hmm. And, the real estate market's up, and the people are buying motorcycles and all kinds of crazy shit. But I did feel personally for myself, there was well, where would I even wear this? Over to the kitchen,
Yeah.
And it was something that personally for me really bummed me out, not in a need to go shopping, but just, I was 5 months in, and I had to go somewhere finally once, and it had cooled off a little bit of like, if I go outside, I'm not going to die. And I put on some denim, a black t-shirt, some boots, and I went somewhere, and I can't even tell you how good I felt. I was like, and it was as corny as this is going. I was like, Dean's back, like me, I'm out, I got it.
Yeah. You want to express yourself. I mean, we spend all this time kind of looking at product, determining the details and features that speak to us. So when you make that choice to get a pair of jeans or flannel or a pair of boots or glasses, whatever it is, and you've really studied that, it's a reflection of you. That is your expression that's coming out when you put that outfit together. So naturally, we all want to feel good and look good, and this is just and being at home. I mean, we're with our loved ones, and we could be more relaxed and casual. They know who we are. You know what I mean? It's not our first impression with these people. But when we do go and we're meeting people for the first time or we're interacting with others, we want to put on a good face. We want to show who we are and let our clothes do some of that expression for us.
Yeah. What are some of the kind of adjustments you had to make as far as living in Japan? It's got to be fantastic because you love all the clothing like myself. But does that eventually kind of wear off and then you're like, well, I live in Japan now? What's that like?
Yes. So, I mean, when we would come to Japan before, we would be here on like 4-day trips, like quick land. We've been in Japan in certain circumstances where we literally land, go right to a meeting.
Yeah.
Then have dinner with the guy and then go to sleep. And it's like we've been up for like 30, 40 hours straight at this point. Like, who cares? Doesn't matter. At some point you're just running on fumes and you go for it. So, and the few moments within our schedule when we'd be here that we had time to do something, we'd go shopping. And so like going to Nakano Broadway and I'm buying vintage toys or comic books or video games and we'd go clothing shopping as well. And you always felt like, because I'm here for only a few days, if I don't buy it, I ain't never getting this.
That's so true.
I better buy this right now because I like it and I'm just going to kick myself in the pants if I don't get this.
And it'll be gone. Yeah. It'll be gone. If you came back like, I didn't get that, they go, we made 4 of those.
It's over. Yeah. So now that I'm here, I'm a little more complacent in that. I'm like, I'm going to go there. I'm going to see something I like. But every time I go there, I'm going to see something I like. So there comes a point with, how many like posters or how many toys or how many jeans or how many like hoodies or sweatshirts, how many of these things can I get? So I've probably slowed down a little bit, but maybe I'm being more specific with the things that I want.
Right. I got to that point too, to where like, all right, you buy like 10 leather jackets and then you finally get to the one you love. Like I love the Real McCoy's Bucos. And then once you get that, I've kind of, in the last few years, I don't even look at leather jackets anymore at all. I've got the Holy Grail in my, and then the same thing goes with boots. You got all these boots. And then good thing that is that this stuff, your stuff that you obtain all the way up to your, say, quote unquote, Holy Grail is easy to sell on eBay because it's quality, great stuff.
Right.
So I could imagine after a while, you're like, I get it, man. It's great, but there's going to be great stuff.
Right. I mean, that stuff's made to last forever. So if you do have to unload part of your denim collection to fund, your Holy Grail item or your leather boots or your jacket. And I think even within our own community, because we are a community that appreciates old things, a boot that's been worn a few times doesn't bother us. It's not at all. It's like, okay, big deal. I don't care. I like old boots anyways. If I found these at a flea market, I'd buy them. So I do like that about our industry. It's not like comic books where unless it's even like video game collectors, it's like certain ones is like, if this isn't mint, I'm not it's not even about playing the game anymore. It's just about obtaining the thing. Yeah, and
in the box, unopened.
Yeah, right.
New old stock.
Yeah. I'm not there with toys and I know that I should never get there with toys because I will go insane if I'm just hunting down boxed, mint condition, graded stuff. It's I have friends who are like that and they've got fantastic, unbelievable collections. And I'm like, no, I'm okay with the loose Ninja Turtle that's missing all the weapons.
Yeah. What's it like to live in Japan outside of Tokyo? Super expensive like New York or London, San Francisco, or what is that?
It depends. So the thing about Japan is just like any one of those cities, you can live a fancy life and there's places where you don't have to. And the weird thing about Japan is that they really value newness a lot. So if you're in a brand new constructed building, you're going to pay a lot. Especially if you're like really close to a metro station that is on a good line. There's the metro lines here are like it's insane. There's like 10 companies operating it, and there's so many transfers and this and that. So if you're on a good line and a nice new fancy condominium, it's going to be like New York. You're going to be paying like crazy. We opted not to live that lifestyle, and we moved just outside of central Tokyo. So we're in Yokohama, and we're in we're in like a pretty nice little cozy neighborhood. We got grocery stores and like fruit markets and things like that around us. But one thing that we really appreciated was like we were not afraid of living in an old building. So we live in an old building, and like as you can see, I don't have walls. I just have concrete. And like,
oh wow, yeah. Is it like a loft type of thing?
Yeah, what? It's like a loft type of thing. So this is not a typical like Japanese, tatami floors or like new nothing. Like it's been like newishly renovated, so it's nice, but like it's rough. And if you appreciate that kind of stuff, then it's for you. And like we were able to get it at an affordable price, so we're happy with this. But I'd say that this place was on the market for a long time. I think the seller had a hard time selling it because, like I said, I think there's an appreciation of, like, especially for living, of newness. People want new. This is a very old building. And of course, people are concerned about earthquakes. So there's like earthquakes happen all the time. And the big one is supposed to hit us eventually. So people want to be in a building that is not going to crumble and die on them when the mother of all earthquakes hits. But I figured this building's been around for enough earthquakes that it's tough and reliable.
Yeah.
I'm gambling on that.
Yeah. What made you move to Japan? Is it just because you need to be around these mills so much now because of how huge the company has become?
Well, we're still not huge, but
I'm just saying, I get it. Yeah. Instead of just flying nonstop, you got to keep your eye out there.
My wife is from here, and my wife moved to Canada several years ago to live with, so we could, live together and eventually get married. And so we spent a lot of time in Canada together, but, that separated her from her family. And so we decided that, let's give Japan a try. And so we moved out here. And as a result, we can actually be a more of a 24-hour company, because as North America is sleeping, we're working. And well, to be fair, I don't really stop working, because even when they're working, I'm working until like 2:00 in the morning. But we're able to handle business from this side of the world. So meeting with our suppliers and dealing with that. And the other idea was to have a showroom space here as well. So to establish more of a business here in Japan and part of our other Asian markets. So, customers in Korea and Thailand, Taiwan, Indonesia, Malaysia, that kind of stuff, they all come to Japan for events. And so they don't always go to Europe. They don't always go to North America. So they don't always get to see our collections, and they're just ordering from the information that we send them, through email. So of course, when you can see the garment, touch the garment, you're going to get a different reaction from it that way. So we wanted to establish that, but then, travel bans hit the world. And so that'll kind of be on hold for now, but we'll be able to establish more of a presence here in Asia as things open up.
You speak Japanese?
Barely.
Yeah.
Luckily, I mean, my wife is perfectly fluent in English. She went to school in the States. So, we have no communication issues. Some people, they can speak a language, but having like a deep conversation or like even having an argument would be difficult.
Right.
No problem with my wife. We can argue all day, and we're getting our points across, no problem. But luckily her family is all like English fluent as well. So her sisters speaks perfect English. Her mother and father speak perfect English. So I'm in this little bubble of English people, and I haven't been like, some people, they land in a place and they're like, well, I better adapt or I'm going to die.
Of course.
I've not had that moment yet. I speak a little bit, like I can get to the washroom and I could buy stuff and order at a restaurant, but like I can't have an argument with you. That would be impossible at this point.
What is your title at Naked and Famous? Are you now kind of part owner, or what is it?
I'm basically Brandon's right-hand man. So Brandon's the owner of the company, and I kind of oversee a little bit of everything. So from marketing, retail, product development, I do the social media stuff, I do the live streams, I make the videos. So I do the sales. So it's like I do just about everything. Even when I'm there, I'm sweeping the floors. I mean, there's not a job that I won't do.
Any denim Other than Naked and Famous that you own right now?
Aside from like vintage stuff, because I do have a vintage collection, so like old Levi's and Wrangler and Lee and you know that kind of stuff. Even like old Canadian jeans. I can't remember the name. Oh my god. Anyways, I remember Wayne Gretzky did an ad for them back in the day.
Wow.
Looking at old Wayne Gretzky denim ads is funny. I forget the name of the company. Anyways, I look, you know, I grew up in Canada, so going thrifting in Canada, you're going to come across, you know, Canadian brands.
Of course.
And like old salvage product that was like, there was a mill in Canada called Wabasso Denim. And they used to make salvage denim in Canada. And I have like old Canadian made salvage products in my collection. So that's pretty neat. GWG was the name of the brand, GWG jeans.
Wow.
Anyways,
but no other Japanese like Strike Gold, Ironheart.
I had a bunch of that in the past. I mean, that's not, I don't like, for me, I don't go nuts over that stuff because, you know, we make our own stuff and I'm very much into what we do.
I got it.
But there's a brand called Capital that I really love.
Wow.
I don't know if you've come across that brand. And this is like when I'm buying like jeans new, you know, Capital is where I go. Because they make not just like they make hoodies and shirts and like they do it. It's all like super distressed and they have a hippie vibe to them, which I really like as well. So like you might get like boot cuts and flares and like they have big giant patches of smiley faces and it's like hyper distressed, but it's all done in like Japanese style, like patchwork stuff. So they really mix like hippie culture and like Japanese traditional like boro and patchworking and meld it together. And there's a little bit of like craziness to them as well.
What is your obsession with the hippie stuff? Are you a deadhead?
I don't like. I wouldn't call myself a deadhead. I like that era. I like that type of music. You know, I've got long hair. It's like, you know, I have it tied up right now, but it like goes down to my waist, and I've just loved like that look and that vibe. Maybe, you know, growing up as a kid, maybe that 70s show kind of inspired me a lot, or like, you know, watching the Wonder Years, and
Right.
that was more of the 60s, I think. But
I get it.
Yeah.
Like 68 to like 77, you
Right.
got Easy Rider. You
Right.
have all that kind of that you know went from Woodstock into kind of classic rock of
Right.
of Boston with the mustaches and
you know, I just got rid of my mustache. I've grown a beard now, but like I loved it, and I still do. You know, I don't think anyone's ever asked me that question. Why? I don't know.
Almost Famous is they nailed it. The film it nails the look, the North Beach leather whip stitch stuff, all of that stuff.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Oh my God, that was like a love letter. It was amazing, and yeah, the jeans that Brad Pitt wearing those. I'm going to make a pair like that. So that's coming. I love that. The whole movie was, and the styling, everything was fantastic.
Masterpiece film. All right, before we get out of here, you got a new line coming out for the winter, right?
Yep.
Let's talk about what it is. Now, when you have a line, your stuff, if people are not aware, you'll have like 10 different pairs of pants out in a year with 5 different fits. So you'll have I'm just going to make these up, like a mud wash, a cherry blossom, the 24 karat gold, the green denim, the money denim, you know, all this crazy stuff. So how many in each line every year?
Well, usually we aim for around 12 a season. Wow. So that's a lot. And
at 12 with 5 different fits.
3 to 5. So you at least 3, but up to 5. And we also have our women's line. So sometimes it's even more. Like some of those fabrics cross over into our women's collection. So yeah, I mean, we do a lot. I mean, that's why we have our own factory, so we can keep pumping out those jeans. But yeah, development starts about a year in advance on any given collection. Like right now, we're working on fall winter 22, and like we're just wrapping up spring summer 20. Fall winter 20 is being released right now. spring, summer 21, we just finished our booking season with all of our retail partners, make sure they got all their, orders in, and my brain is already into next fall. So there's a lot of jeans in my brain at one given time.
It's nuts.
And we've been doing these capsule collections in addition to our mainline collection. We did that Ghostbusters collection last fall, with the glow in the dark Slimer jeans. So we've got a Batman collection coming out this holiday season. So we've made jeans, we made fabrics, and that's the difference between you might find a Batman t-shirt and it's just, Batman logo on it. But what we do with our kind of capsule collection is we take a property that we love. We're nostalgia nerds, so we're always looking back to the stuff that we grew up with. And so we took the essence of that character and we made a fabric based on that character. What would that character be if they were a fabric? What would Joker be if he was denim? What would, the dynamic duo, the 1960s Batman, what would they be if they were denim? So we've created that collection. That's coming soon. So on top of just our wild creations of using fun and interesting dyes or weaving techniques to make our mainline collection, we also have this really fun, nostalgic capsule collection that we do every season. So we're making even more jeans now. So it's, boy, do we have a lot on our plate.
Well, I can't thank you enough for talking to me. It was really, really cool to, I reached out, you said you'd do it, and I'm always down to talk to people about denim. And it was great to talk to you about your knowledge and everything on it. And I've known the brand for years. I've been in the New York store many times, and it's very, very cool to have you on. Once again, let's give everybody, your Instagram is Naked and Famous, right?
Right. You can find we're Naked and Famous Denim. There's actually a band from New Zealand called The Naked and Famous. So don't confuse us. We're very different industries. So we're Naked and Famous Denim on Instagram, or Naked and Famous Denim NYC. That's our New York store. And our Montreal store is called Tate and Yoko, Tate and Andyoko. So we've got 3 Instagrams. You can follow one or all, or, whatever. I'm on YouTube under Naked and Famous Denim. We do a couple different posts a week. So we try to be as accessible as possible. Hit me up in the DMs if you got questions about denim. I'm pretty responsive. I can't answer them all, but I try to answer as many as I can.
Now say your name one more time so people know it.
Yeah. My name is Bahzad Trinos.
Bahzad Trinos.
You got it.
What nationality are you?
So this is a fun game that I often like to play, but instead of playing the game, I'll just give you the answer. My mom is from Iran, so I'm not the only Iranian guy in the denim industry. Me and Kia seem to be the from Self-Edge. So so my mom's from Iran. My dad is Filipino.
Right on. You talk to Kia much?
Every now and then. I mean, we're not best friends, but if we see each other, we'll have a good time. And he's been up to Montreal, and we showed him around our factory. So we're chatty when we're around, but not being around.
Of course.
I think he lives in Mexico now. I'm not really sure, but he's always somewhere. He's Mexico or San Francisco or in Greece. He's a good guy.
I love that, man. All right, brother. Thank you so much for doing the show. And maybe one day we do a episode where it's 4 of us on here talking denim.
Sure.
Just get a full on, because, once a year I do a full watch episode, and maybe we get me, you, Kia, a couple other guys on here, maybe Roy up there in Oakland.
Absolutely. And it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Dive into some crazy denim talk. So thank you so much for doing it. And I'm looking forward to seeing your new releases in the next couple of weeks. They can buy all the jeans on the website, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So Tate and Yoko is our online store. And if you go to nakedandfamousdenim.com, hit shop now, it takes you to the store. So yeah, you can buy everything online.
Have a great weekend, man, out there in Japan. I know it's Thursday there now. So, and stay healthy, buddy. And,
thank you. You too. And thanks for having me on. It's been a lot of fun. I love, I could talk about denim for the rest of my life.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
I'll see you, man.
All right. Bye-bye.
See ya.